Hey everyone, so I'm back doing another video. Um, so today I want to talk about, I've been running into a lot of debate talking about white versus black and why women of color need to start dating outside of their race because black men of color are dating outside of their race. I've been seeing a lot of, hearing a lot of opinions about this matter. So I wanted to get into just like what I've been seeing and believe and what I've experienced in my life. You know, growing up, I grew up in a lower middle class to middle class family through my life. You know, we lived in hood in the what they would call the hood, but we were one of those families that had like the nice house, where there was projects around us. We were, like the ideal family group, with my mom, my dad, my brother, and myself. And, to most people around us, we were considered the rich ones, are the well-to-do people. So needless to say, my parents worked really hard to get me into one of the top schools in our city. That it was really hard to get into, first of all, because you were put on a waiting list, and once you got in, you had to pay fees to stay there, which if you were a lower income family and you had more than 2 kids, you probably wouldn't have been able to afford to go to the school. So needless to say, and that was from elementary all the way to high school. I attended this school, which was funded through the University of Florida, and the majority of the people at our school were majority white people. Even though during that time I really didn't integrate with fully integrate with the the white people, the white Caucasian group. I still kept to the black community because that's who I felt more comfortable with. That's who I felt like at that time I really strongly associated myself with and felt comfortable with. I hadn't been fully immersed into the white community at that time to feel comfortable making friends and all that stuff with them, even though I did begin to have a few friends here and there who were white. But what I can say is that after I graduated high school and I started college, I was getting my associates at Santa Fe College. In 2009, I started working for a consignment store, Sandy's Consignment, and they were majority white. Sandy is the owner, and she is white, but she really invested in me. Like she really took the time. She really cared. She gave me a chance. When I first started working there, it was my first job as well. It really wasn't my first. I've been working since I was 15. My first job was at Albertsons. Then my second job was at a retail store that was called Goodies. And so I've been consistently working since I was 15. But for some reason, I was having real troubles at the register. So, instead of her just, firing me on the spot, she gave me an ultimatum. She said, you can quit or you can come back and we'll make it better. and I'll give you a second chance, you know. It might not be at the cash register at first, but I'll slowly start to get you going. And so, you know, I really appreciated her looking out for me. And through that time, I got to develop relationships, friendships with white women of color. I mean, of non-color. And I really do feel like, you know, during that time, when I was working at Sandy's, when I got to interact with, I mean, and we were all around the same age. We were all college students. About half of them went to the university, students at the University of Florida. But I really can say that I learned more from my white friends than I actually learned from my black friends. My self-esteem grew higher with my hanging out with my white friends than I did with my black friends. It's just as simple as that. And the thing about it is, I never fully felt welcomed, or I never fully felt like, okay, with my white friends, here's the thing. I never felt like I would ever be considered like equal to them. No matter how much wealth I was born into, how much money, like, not all of my white friends were born into wealth, you know, like some of them were born into families that had what my family had, wealth wise or less. But for some reason, I still got that feeling like they viewed me differently, to being somewhat, I don't know how to put it, because, you know, the thing about my white friends is, the difference between white friends and black friends are white counterparts versus black counterparts. With white counterparts, their self-esteem is through the roof. I mean, why wouldn't their self-esteem be through the roof? You know, they haven't experienced slavery. They haven't experienced segregation. They haven't experienced financial liberties being taken away, you know. So with their self-esteem being really high, you know, they made you feel like more love. Like, even though you knew, like, in your heart you wouldn't, in a group of white female counter friends compared to you, you would never be seen as completely equal to them, of equal value or sustenance, but you still felt good with them, because that's the aura that they had. They have high self-esteems, they have high beliefs about themselves, and they never put you down to make themselves feel better. With the black community, what I realized with my black friends is they lack self-love. You can see it in our culture today. We don't love ourselves, and a lot of times we like to put bandages over deep open wounds instead of dealing with the problem head on. So with my black friends, I started suffering from low self-esteem, lack of trust, just not feeling good about myself, because they didn't feel good about themselves. And how can somebody love you correctly when they don't even love themselves? You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing that's the differences between white friends and black friends. You know, you do feel like more comfortable with black friends, of course. You don't feel like you're just that token black, you know. But I mean, like, even when black people try to compliment you, they're still not really complimenting you, you know. And for an empath, that can be very tumultuous to the soul. So that's what I learned the differences. And I can say that when I was in college getting my associate's degree, the 5 years I worked at Sandy's Consignment, I made a lot of white female friends, and they actually taught me a lot about, being a vegan from like 2009 to 2000, I want to say right around 2012ish. They taught me about being a vegan. They taught me about meditating, yoga. I started going to the gym more. I started biking. I turned into a real hippie, honestly. I started going to art galleries, like theaters. Where there was live theater performances, which is what I was doing all along, because I went to a performing arts school, and I sang in chorus. I actually performed at Disney for Disney with my group, and we got to stay at, like, I think it was Disney Animal Kingdom, and we did this. I did this for 3 years, and then we got to sing songs, Christmas carols at Disney Epcot, and that's actually where we got to see Cicely Tyson. That's when I saw her, and she spoke to us and gave us some words of encouragement. So what else? I'm really just talking about random stuff, honestly, but yeah, so I don't really want to dim the white community at all. I'm just showing the differences, and the reason why I promote black business, black wealth, is because I'm tired of seeing our people suffering. I'm tired of seeing black people with low self-esteem. I'm tired of seeing us not, having a society of wealth, and I want to help move that along, because I have black sons, and what I wanted to get into is that in school, we didn't really have a lot of black literature. At my school that I went to, we didn't really have a lot of black literature. So I had to find literature that was relatable, that I found interesting through other cultures. So if you follow me on Instagram, you see one of my favorite series of books was Junie B. Jones. I just felt like she just had so much character, which was a lot like me, So, like, I really do want to find more black literature, black books for black girls, with meaning. But that is what I had to go off of, literally. And I found it, and honestly, I couldn't stop reading her books for some reason. I just felt like she just had a lot of character and pizzazz and was really relatable for me at the time. So that's just my little piece I wanted to put into the mix. And honestly, after I started working at Sandy's, my whole persona started to change. My whole language started to change. Before, I had a real country southern black accent. My language was very limited. And you can also, you can give a lot of credit to just through education alone and through naturally growing. But like, really, my language started to become more proper. Like, literally, it was even more proper than it is right now. Like, I got a bit of my hood back in my voice. But before, you know, it had really left the building. I'm gonna just tell you right now, like, it took maturity for me to get to where I am now, but I don't know if I have a video or if I can bring it up, but if I can, I'll show y'all, like, just how I really was. I'm getting it done because I've had a history of pimples, blackheads since as long as I can remember, and it's left like a lot of scars, not because of the pimples itself, it's because I pick on them a lot. Like I just like pick and like I bother it until it comes out because I just don't like the look of pimples. But unfortunately, as a result of this, I'm stuck with big black marks. That's almost worse than pimples because they just don't go away. I mean, some of these scars I've had since I was 13 that are still on my face. So I think that this chemical peel is something that's much needed. I'm really looking forward to the results after everything is done. What I can say is that because these scars are due to my picking, the dermatologist informed me that they are superficial. So that means they don't go really deep. So I'm hoping that with this first chemical peel, it's called the Renaissance chemical peel, most of my scarring will be gone. The process wasn't bad at all. It maybe took about 30 minutes. I had to wash my face with the Renaissance cleanser before she actually applied the chemical peel. And after she applied it, she extracted some of the pimples that were on my face right after the application. And it kind of stung just a little bit, but it wasn't that bad actually, and it doesn't feel that bad now. But yeah, like just being a vegan, eating healthier, like yoga, meditating, like be going and enjoying the outdoors. I really didn't learn any of that from the Black community. What I learned from the Black community is hair, makeup, nails, hip hop music, clubbing, partying, drinking, and smoking pot. And boys. And just being wretched. Like that's really what I learned from my experience with the Black community. And just in laughing and jokes. That's it. But when I really started to immerse myself with the white community, I learned all the healthy stuff, all the things that the Black community should be learning and knowing by now. That is what I had gotten from my experience with the white community. It's just as simple as that. So what I can say is that I learned a lot from them. So I can't necessarily down them. And honestly, if that's what it takes for Black men to grow and to even come close to the understanding I have, then that's just what needs to take place. You know what I'm saying? And Black women, I suggest you to do the same. Don't feel like you have to stick to just one race or one group of people just because. The thing about my husband is my husband has been assimilated. Like, his family is Haitian, but like my husband has never been to Haiti. Like, he doesn't even speak the language. He grew up with a group of white friends. He, in a lot of ways, has been picked on and considered to be like the white boy or like the nerd or the geek, just from how he talks alone. So that's another thing too. Like, I've been blessed to have a husband that can really relate to me, and that, you know, he's also a nerd, and he's also been highly assimilated, and I think that's something that his father wanted to happen, to where, you know, he doesn't have much of a Haitian culture in him other than his history, his family, his DNA. Because, like, literally, if you were to talk to my husband on the phone, you probably think he was a white guy, honestly. And I'm just being real honest with you. So, yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but, like, we as black people need to deal with our past hurts, you know. And like I said, you don't want to keep putting a band-aid on a deep open wound, because nothing gets healed that way. And we really need to work on loving ourselves again, so that we can love other people who look like us the same way. Because right now, black people, man, we are falling off. We have just lost all sense of morality and value system. And that's not to say every black person is like that. That's not to say every black person doesn't have moral standing or values. But, you know, there is a good amount of us that we know we need to change, we need to be better, and we still falling for the low standards of ourselves, just to fall in line with what society wants us to be. But I do feel like we can be better. That's why I keep promoting black-owned businesses and all that good stuff, because I know we can do better, and it is possible. But we can't do it if people aren't trying. If you're purposely and blatantly being ignorant,